Akhandamandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva sutam devam kamsachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Namaskar. Pranam. Thank you for joining. Today we are doing chapter 7, shlokas 20 to 25. 6 shlokas we will cover today. Now, a quick recap of what we have been doing. In the last 5 shlokas, from shloka number 15 onwards, first Sri Bhagavan said, Namam dushkrutino mudaha prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya apahrita jnanaha asuram bhavamashitaha. 4 types of unrighteous people who do not take his refuge. And then in the 16th shloka, he talked about 4 types of righteous people, sukritinaha, who take his refuge. Chaturvidha bhajante mam janaha sukritino arjuna. Arto jignasurartharthi jnani cha bharatarshava. Artha, one who is in distress. Jignasu, one who is inquisitive, wants to know, has unanswered questions. Artharthi, one who desires material wealth, material prosperity. And jnani, one who wants mukti from this world, but wants that mukti in the bhakti of Sri Bhagavan. So these 4 types of people, they take his refuge. For them, he is the all-in-all in their life. So having said that, then Sri Bhagavan says in the 17th shloka that Tesham jnani nitya yuktaha eka bhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnani notyartham aham sacha mama priyaha. Among these 4 people that I have just said in the 16th shloka, the jnani, the one who does bhakti to me devoid of any desire for material wealth or to relieve their own distress or just out of curiosity, but only for the sake of coming to me and residing with me eternally. He is very dear to me. Atyartham priyam, he says. He is extremely dear to me. And then, udaraha sarva evaite jnani tuatmaiva me matam astitaha sahi yuktatma mameva anuttamam gatim. 18th shloka. He says that, okay, don't think just because I'm praising the jnani, don't think that the other 3 are useless, but no, they are also very respectable, worthy of being given honor. They are large-hearted and generous. But even then, the jnani is like my own self. He is very, very dear to me. And finally, in the 19th shloka, which was the last shloka that we did in the last session, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. At the end of many, many births, a person realizes that Vasudeva Krishna is everything. And he then takes my refuge. And such a Mahatma, such a great personality is very rare, he says. So having said all this, basically, in summary, what he has pointed out is that, becoming my devotee, taking my refuge, coming and being part of me, living with me, this is not easy to get, but it should be the goal of life. It should be the goal that we should pursue. So having said this, now in the next shloka, the 20th shloka onwards, for 4 shlokas, Sri Bhagavan will contrast himself with the other devatas. Now, I also put this slide. This is again from what we did earlier. This refers to the 3 types of bhakti that Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti has explained in his commentary. When he talked about the 4 types of bhaktas, so he classified into 3 types of bhakti. Guni Bhuta Bhakti, where people do their activity of bhakti in a very secondary manner. They have some other desire, for example, the desire to get mukti, the desire to get some powers, etc. And bhakti to Krishna there is only used as a small tool to give power to that process. It is not the main thing. For them, the interest is not in Krishna as such. It is in some other objective, but in between Krishna is put. In Pradhani Bhuta Bhakti, which is what the 16th shloka of the 7th chapter was about, these 4 types of people, for all of them, they also want, 3 of them want something else. The 4th one, Jnani, wants Krishna in his eternal residence. But for all 4 of these people, Bhakti is Pradhani Bhuta, means they want to reside with him all the time. Even when they are in this samsara, they don't think of any other devata. For them, Krishna is the main thing. So we give the example of the story of Dhruva. How Dhruva, he is driven by material desire. He wants to have his father's kingdom. He wants to become the king. He's going out of insult. He's been insulted by his stepmother. So out of that insult, he is running away. And he wants to find Vishnu because he's been told that Vishnu is the only person who can give you that. Nobody else can give you. Right? So he's going to Vishnu only out of a desire for material wealth, not because he wants Vishnu itself as the end goal. But in the process, he's thinking only of Vishnu. He's got nothing else in mind. And he's devoted himself completely to Vishnu. And eventually, as a result of all that, he is purified. His desire for that particular wealth is completely gone. And when he finally sees Vishnu, he says, what a fool I have been. I have been pursuing the wrong thing. Right? So that is a artharthi. So therefore, all the four of these, which are looking for something, but they take Vishnu as the only refuge, they eventually attain him. They get mukti and they go to him. And then beyond this, the third type of bhakti is kevala bhakti, where there is nothing other than the pleasure of Krishna or Vishnu. Where bhakti is the sole element. There is nothing else that you approach Vishnu for or Krishna for. Even mukti. Even mukti is not something that is sought after. If mukti comes as a byproduct, then it's fine, but we're not looking for it. We're looking for just the pleasure, ekata anukulata of Vishnu, nothing else. But this is the highest form of bhakti, and this is the bhakti that is present in Braja, in Vrindavan, where there is not even a small bit of swartha, that I want something for myself in return. And the happiness of that bhakti is considered the supreme form of happiness. So what does he say in the 20th shloka? Kamaistaiste hritadhyanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyata swaya. So now, like I did last time, I'm going to read out from a commentary. And for this shloka, I have the commentary of Baladeva Vidyabhushana. It's called the Gita Bhushana Bhashyam. He says, Tad itham kamanaya api mam bhajanto mad bhakti mahimna te vimuchyante ityuktam. It has been told in the last shloka that even though people worship Krishna or Vishnu for something else with some karma, still because of the power of my bhakti, his bhakti, they get liberated, they get mukti. Eventually they get mukti from this samsara. They are not born again. Now, yetu shighra sukha kamaha devatantara bhaktaha te samsarantyeva ityaha kamaihi ityadibihi chaturbihi. Says in the next four shlokas, he says, shighra sukha kamaha, people who want instant gratification. Instant in the sense, they don't want to think, okay, if I have worshipped Vishnu, it will take a long time. I may have to do this my whole life and then one day he may give me. But if I worship some other devata, then it may be very quick. So they go to some devata whom they think can give them a very quick return. Okay, very quick returns. So in these four shlokas, Sri Bhagavan actually contrasts his bhakti with bhakti to the other devatas. So he says, Taihi arti vinashadi vishayakaihi kamaihi hritagyanah yathadityadayaha shigrameva roga vinashadi karaha tatha na vishnuhu iti nashtadhyaha ityarthaha. So he's saying such people think that, okay, this XYZ devata, like the Surya Deva, okay, or some other Varuna or Indra, they go to that deva and they think that Vishnu is much bigger. So, and he is not, he doesn't respond. So very quickly, my disease, if I have disease, my disease will be cured if I do this tapasya for that deity. Or it may be even smaller than a disease, like for example, passing some exam. So you go make a commitment in some temple that if I pass the exam, then I will do parikrama some 100 times, or I will do some tapasya for you, I'll pour some oil, something like that. And they go and do upasana of that deity. And so the adjective used for them is nashtadhyaha, means people whose intelligence has been destroyed. Tam asadharanam swaya prakritya vasanaya niyataha niyantritaha tesham prakritareva tadrishiya matprapato vaimukhyam karoti. So he says that basically this tendency to go to another devata, despite the fact that in the Gita I am saying that you should come to me, people still go to another devata, is because of their vasanas, their tendencies which have developed over multiple lifetimes. Okay, vasana literally means a smell. Okay, like we say that a flower or in general any object carries some kind of smell with it. Similarly, each of us living beings, we are jivatmas. We are jivatma residing in the body. And since eternity, okay, we are not just entered this material existence, but since eternity, anadi time, we've been in this samsara. So through this existence, since beginninglessness, we have done so many activities, we have experienced so many desires, and the results of trying to pursue those desires. As a result, we have developed some vasanas. Vasana also translates as tendencies, orientations, tendencies, likings, dislikings. That's why different people have different types of likings, preferences, fates. Everything is different, right? Orientations. So he says, according to their vasanas, according to their prakritya, prakritya means by their prakriti, by their swabhav, which they acquire over many lifetimes, they feel that some other devata will give them the result that they are seeking faster than I can give them. Okay. So, and they become Vaimukhyam. Vaimukhyam means Vimukata. Vimukata is they go away from Vishnu, they turn their face away from Vishnu. They don't think Vishnu is attractive enough. Okay. So Kamaihi means by desires, Taihi Taihi, respectively. In English we say respectively. Taihi Taihi. Kritagyanaha. Their knowledge has been snatched away. Kritagyanaha. Prapadyante Anya Devataha. They go and take refuge of other devatas, Anya Devataha. Tam Niyamamastaha. Respectively, those niyamas. Niyama means those regulations that they have to follow for that devata. Like for Shani Bhagavan, you have to pour some oil on every Saturday. Especially in the south, it's very, very common, right? Then you do parikrama of the Navagraha on Saturdays. And then you do some puja part for Shani Bhagavan. Then your Shani Dasha will be countered by that. So this kind of respective niyama. Tam niyamam asthaya prakritya niyata swaya. So they are actually dragged by their prakriti to do that. So my translation, their intelligence snatched by their respective material desires and driven by their own natures, people take refuge in other devatas and adopt the specific norms pertaining to them. In 21st shloka, he says, Yo yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya achalam shraddham tameva vidhadhamyaham. This is the Sarartha Varshini commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay. So I'm following both these commentaries. So sometimes I read from one of them, sometimes from the other one. Tete devaha pujam prapya prasannaha tesham swaswa pujakanam hitartham tvad bhaktau shraddham utpadayishyanti iti mavadihi. Okay, so he says that, okay, he's telling Arjuna. I mean, Vishwanath Chakravarti is writing as if Krishna is telling to Arjuna that, well, don't say that now these people go to other devas, they worship them, and then those devas become happy with their bhaktas, and then because they wish the well-being of their bhaktas, so therefore they bless them with Krishna bhakti. They give bhakti to you, Krishna. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, no, don't say like that, don't think like that. No, those devatas don't bless their bhaktas with bhakti to me. What actually happens is this, that yataha te devaha swabhaktavapi shraddham utpadayitum ashaktaha, because they are unable to, these devas don't have the ability to give their own shraddha to their bhaktas. Means the shraddha that the bhakta has in them, even that shraddha is not given by those devas to those bhaktas. Then who gives it? Kim punaha mad bhaktav ityaha yo yaiti. So what to speak of giving bhakti to me? They are not able to give shraddha to their own bhaktas. Yam tanum surya devadi rupam madiyam murtim vibhutim architum pujayitum tameva tattat devatashu devata vishayameva natu swavishayam shraddham aham antaryamyeva vidadhami natu sasa devata. So he says that shraddha which those bhaktas have in those devatas, I being the antaryami, I am the antaryami in all living beings, as the Paramatma, and residing in all living beings. I am the one who gives that shraddha. So don't think that devata will give shraddha in me to their bhaktas, because they cannot give shraddha in themselves also to their own bhaktas. So it's I who is giving the Shraddha, even for that bhakti, even that bhakti that they have in those devatas, it's I who am giving that Shraddha. Okay? So not that devata. So my translation, whichever devata one desires to worship with conviction, Shraddha, I bestow upon that person firm and unshakable conviction in that devata. Okay, so it's not even just some, what do you call, mild Shraddha. It's very deep Shraddha. So people, when they worship a devata sincerely, then they get very firm conviction. And that conviction, if it is firm enough, you should understand that it's I, Krishna, who is giving that conviction. Sataya Shraddhaya Yuktaha Tasya Radhanamihate Labhate cha tatah kaman mayeva vihitan hitan. And then what happens? Says, this is from Baladev Vidyabhushana, Sataya iti ihate karoti. Ihate, the verb ihate used here means karoti, thus, means thus. Tato mattanubhuta tattat devadharadhanat. Okay, so here we should understand that actually all the devatas in two ways. One is, it is said that all the devatas actually reside in Krishna. They reside in the body of Vishnu. Second understanding is that Vishnu himself is actually that devata. He takes the form of different devatas and performs different functions. For example, he becomes Agni and does the function of Agni. Agni does so many different purposes. So Vishnu takes the form of Agni, and when people worship Agni, okay, so Agni worship is so common actually, even the Parsis, they worship Agni, right? So Agni is a form of Vishnu, really. But they are worshipping Agni thinking that it's not Vishnu, it is some other devata. Kaman palani tatra tatra uktani. Mayeva iti vihitan rachitan. So those fruits which they are eventually getting by worshipping that devata, those fruits also are given by me only. The Shraddha to worship is given by me, and the fruits after worshipping are also given by me, whatever benefit is coming. Yadyapi tasya aradhakasya tatha jnanam nasti tathapi mattanu vishaya iyam Shraddha iti anusandhaya aham falani arpayami iti bhava. Because they don't know that. They don't know, even though they don't know that, it doesn't matter to me. They may not know that actually Vishnu is giving it. They may think that Indra is giving me this, right? For example, you see the Govardhan Leela of Krishna. Then in the Govardhan Leela, all the Vrajavasis at that point of time, they're all worshipping Indra. So then Krishna, the 7-year-old boy, goes and says that, why are you worshipping Indra? He's just a devata. Says, no, if we don't worship Indra, then he'll be very upset. Every year we have to do this puja. Only if we do Indra puja properly, and Indra is happy with us, then he gives us rain properly and so on. Then Krishna says, no, don't bother. I will protect you. Don't worry about this Indra. You give it to me. I will eat whatever you give. And if you give it to me, it's enough. It's your whatever you want will be achieved. So don't fear about him. Extremely strong. And eventually Krishna manages to convince them. And then they worship him. They worship Krishna. He sits there. And then they offer everything to him. Krishna also says that, see, actually, this Govardhan that is there is actually my form. I have taken this form of this Govardhan. So you worship me and worship Govardhan, because Govardhan is the one who's providing the grass, what our cows are eating, and the water, now the shelter. It's a place where we all go and play. So Govardhan is our real protector, not Indra. So eventually when they worship him, worship Krishna and Govardhan, Indra, who is watching all this, gets very angry, and we know that he sends intolerable rain. And then Krishna waits for a time when there is desperation. He doesn't immediately respond. He just sits quietly, and then he waits for the Rajavasis to come to him and say that, look, you promised us that you will help us. Now please help us. Everything is flooded. Our houses are completely flooded. We don't have any place to go. And so at that point, he says, okay. And he plucks up that Govardhan. It is said as easily as a small child picks a piece of mushroom from the ground. Just picks it up like that. And then to show Indra who he is, he holds it not like this with both his hands with a lot of difficulty. He just uses his left hand and the little finger of the left hand. Left hand is considered the weaker hand, right? Generally for most people. So the left hand, the little finger of the left hand, he uses this and he balances it. And he says, don't worry, it will not fall. Be assured, I'm holding it on this little finger, it will not fall. All of you come underneath this. So this Leela is called Govardhan Leela. And it shows clearly that everything actually comes from him. The Shraddha to worship Indra comes from him. The fruits of whatever Indra gave them also actually came from him. But they didn't know that. They were thinking actually Indra was giving that to him. Right? So endowed with that conviction, one worships that devata and thereafter obtains the desired fruits. However, those fruits are given by me only. So then he concludes these 4 shlokas by saying, Antavattu phalam tesham tat bhavati alpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti mat bhakta yanti mamati. So I have taken both the commentaries here. In Sarartha Varshini says, Kintu tesham devantara bhaktanam phalam tattat devataradhana janyam antavat nashwaram kainchit kalikam bhavati. He says, but try to understand that whatever fruits you are giving, I said that I am the one who is giving those fruits. But when you worship the devata and get those fruits, they are nashwara, means they are only temporary. You will enjoy that only for some time. Right? So then Vishwanath Chakravarti raises a doubt after saying this. This Nanu aradhane shrame tulya api devatantara bhaktanam phalam nashwaram karoshi swabhaktanam tu anashwaram karoshi. Iti tvai parameshware ayam anyaya tatra nayam anyaya ityaha devayojo devapujakaha devaneva yanti prapnuvanti mat pujakaha api mam. Okay, so here he is raising a doubt because the shloka says that the fruits that are obtained by worshipping the devatas are temporary. So the doubt that comes is, but just now you said that you are the one who is giving the fruits. And then you also say that if somebody worships you, they get something eternal. You just said in the 16th shloka that they become your bhaktas, they take your refuge. And then even though they are also asking for material returns like Dhruva, but he gets mukti in the end. So isn't that extremely unfair? It's anyaya because you are giving both, but they went to some other devata and you give them something temporary. They come to you, you're giving them something eternal. Aren't you being very unfair? So Krishna responds in this shloka by saying that no, it's not unfair. Why is it not unfair? He says, Ayam arthaha yehi yat pujakaha tan prapnumanti eva iti nyaya eva. Says because it's by their own choice that they have gone to that deva. And so they will get what that deva is capable of giving. I have not forced them to come to me. They have only chosen to go. They know about me, but even though they know about me, they still have gone to the other devata. And then what that devata has been endowed with, only that they can get. Tatra yadi devaha api nashwaraha, tada tat bhaktaha katam anashwaraha bhavanti. Deva themselves is temporary. Deva himself has got a death. For example, Indra, his lifetime is only 1 manvantara. Okay? 1 manvantara is a time period equal to 1/14th of the daytime of Brahma. Our Brahma, this universe, this Brahmanda, this Brahma has 100 years of lifetime in his time scale. Okay? The time scales are all different for different beings. So 100 years of his lifetime, how does it compare with our lifetime? How does it compare with our years? Okay. So 100 years of Brahma's life, each year consists of 12 months. And each month of his consists of 30 days, kalpas. 1 day of Brahma is called a kalpa. So each month of Brahma has 30 days and 1 year has got 12 such months. Okay. Now 1 day means you can say 24 hours, what we call 24 hours. So that day cycle has got 1 daytime and 1 night time. Okay. So in the daytime, Brahma is active. In the night time, he goes into yoga nidra, goes into a stage of samadhi, in which he is just meditating on Krishna, on Vishnu. So in the daytime, he does his creation and management and all the activities that he is supposed to do. Okay, now what does 1 daytime of Brahma look like? It's 12 hours, what we can call 12 hours. So in that daytime, the daytime is divided into what are called as manvantaras. Okay, so there are 14 manvantaras in 1 day of Brahma, 14 manvantaras. Okay? And in each manvantara, one time period called manvantara, there is one Manu, one person by name Manu, one Jivatma is appointed as Manu. Manu is the person who gives Dharma Shastra, who gives the instructions for Dharma and sets the broad principles by which human beings and other beings should live, should conduct their life in a way that is, you can say, that won't bring them misery, that will make them happy, that will keep them happy. They can live a happy, stable life. So this is Manu's job in every Manvantara. So how long are these Manvantaras? Now each Manvantara is roughly 70 to 71 Chaturyugas long. Okay, Chaturyuga. So what is meant by Chaturyuga? Chaturyuga, one Chaturyuga is a set of 4 yugas. Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga and Kali Yuga. I should say Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali. 4 yugas. Okay. So each of them has got a certain duration. So we'll begin with Kali Yuga. That's the smallest of them. So currently we are in Kali Yuga, in a particular Kali Yuga. So this Kali Yuga is, in our lifetime, in our years, it is 4,32,000 years long. That is the duration of one Kali Yuga. The duration of a Dwapar Yuga is 2 times the duration of Kali Yuga. So it is 8,64,000 years long. Treta Yuga is 3 times the Kali Yuga. So you can just add that number. And Satya Yuga or Treta, it's called Krita Yuga. Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga, the 4th one, is 4 times the duration of Kali Yuga. Which means one Chatur Yuga is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, which is 10. One Chatur Yuga is 10 times the duration of one Kali Yuga. So if this is 4,32,000 years, that will be 43,20,000 years. One Chatur Yuga. So like this, one Manvantara has got 71 Chatur Yugas. 71 Chatur Yugas. One Manvantara. So that into 14. Okay, that comes to a number close to 1,000. So one day of Brahma has got 1,000 Chatur Yugas. One day of Brahma has got 1,000 Chatur Yugas divided into 14 Manvantaras, each Manvantara being about 71 Chatur Yugas. And in between 2 Manvantaras, there is a period called a Manvantara Sandhi. So during a Manvantara, there is one Manu and there is one set of Devas. All the Devas change in each Manvantara. For example, in the current Manvantara, there is one set of Devas, Indra, Varuna, Chandra, Surya. There's one set of Jivatmas like us who occupy that post. Sometimes if there is not available, you don't get a qualified Jivatma because this all requires a highly qualified person to occupy that post, right? If a qualified person is not there, then Vishnu himself occupies that post. Like currently, in the current Manvantara, the Surya, the devata of Surya, it's Vishnu. He's called Surya Narayana. He's worshipped as Narayana. It's Narayana himself who has become Surya. Right? So in each Manvantara, the Devas change, Manu changes, the Saptarishis change. And like this, a lot of other personalities who govern this universe, this Brahmanda, they change. There's a change of power. Just like in India, the government goes for a fresh election every 5 years, of new governments are appointed. Right? The same people may come to power if they get voted again. But potentially, there's a change. Right? So that's how it happens. The universal system works like that. So Devaha Nashwaraha, it says. Devas themselves are Nashwara. I'll just give you one more fact because this is connected to what I was saying. That currently we are living the time as per the Bhagavatam. We are said to be living in the first day of the 51st year of Brahma. Our Brahma of the present Brahmanda is 50 years of age. He's finished 50 full years and today is the first day of his 51st year. And this Kalpa of Brahma is called the Shvetavaraha Kalpa, this day of Brahma. And in this day of Brahma, now I said there are 14 Manvantaras in every day of Brahma. So we are now in the 7th Manvantara, 7th of the 14 Manvantaras. And this Manvantara is called the Vaivasvata Manvantara. Okay, because the Manu that we have now, the present Manu, is named after him. So he is the son of the sun god, the Surya Deva, is Surya's son. He appeared as the son of Surya. Surya's name is Vivaswan. So Vivaswan's son is called Vaivaswan. Right? Vivasvataha Apatyam Puman Vaivaswan. And so Vaivaswan, so this Manu is called Vaivasvata Manu. It's named after him. So this Manvantara is called Vaivasvata Manvantara. And we are now in the 28th Chaturyuga. There are 71 Chaturyugas in one Manvantara. So we are said to be in the Kali Yuga of the 28th Chaturyuga of the Vaivasvata Manvantara of the first day of the 51st year of Brahma. Okay, that is a time point from the universal time scale. Okay, so we deviated a bit, but coming back to the shloka. So here we are, and the devas are Nashvara. So therefore, because they themselves are Anitya, their position itself is Anitya, how can they give you something Nitya? That's the argument. Tatra yadi devaha api nashvaraha tada bhaktaha katam anashvaraha bhavantu. Katham taram ya tad bhajana phalam va na nashyatu. Atayeva tad bhaktaha alpamedasaha uktaha. Therefore, because they are chasing something, these bhaktas, they are chasing something that is temporary, that is very short-lived. Like in management, we say that you should always think long-term. If thinking of short-term, then you may sacrifice the long-term goal. Exactly the same logic is used here. That because they are chasing something that is very short-term, sanitya, they are alpamedasa, means their intelligence is very small, very less intelligent, very less intelligent. Okay, Bhagavan's to nityaha, that bhaktaha api nityaha, that bhaktihi bhakti phalam cha sarvam nityameva. Bhagavan is a nitya, and his form is nitya, his guna is nitya, his leela is nitya, he's always nitya. And therefore, those who take refuge of Sri Bhagavan, he says, are people who will get that eternal fruit, and they'll enter into eternity. And that will always remain with them. And that is long-term thinking. Says, Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Devan deva yajo yanti mad bhakta yanti mapati. I'll also quickly read the commentary of Baladeva Vidyabhushana. He says, Nanu devascheta tvat tanavaha tarhi deva bhaktanam tvat bhaktanam cha samanam phalam syaditi cheta tatraha antavaditi. You said that devas are also like your body, you yourself come as the deva, then why is it this difference? But similar question he's asking. Tesham alpamedasam adityadi matra buddhya natu adityadi matra buddhya natu mattanu buddhya aradhayatam tat phalam alpam antavat tat vinashita bhavati. Because the reason is that they are worshipping those devatas not as my body or not as my form, but as that devata, separate from me. And that is why they get something that is temporary. Mattanu buddhya aradhayatam. So if they even worship the devata, knowing that it's a form of me, as a form of Krishna, then they may get something that is nitya. For example, if somebody goes to Durga, Mother Durga, and thinks of Mother Durga as a form of Vishnu, and Vishnu himself has taken the form of Durga as his own Shakti, Durga, then they may get nitya mukti. But otherwise, no. If they think the deity is separate from me, then they will only get what is, as long as that lifetime of that deva is possible. So this phrase, Devan Deva Yajo Yanti, the people who worship the devas, they go to the devas. And Mat Bhakta Yanti Mamati, those who worship me, they come to me. Those persons who have low intelligence obtain the fruits that are temporary. Those who worship the devatas go to the devatas, but my bhaktas come to me. Now, having said all this, he says, Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam Manyante Mama Buddhayaha Param Bhava Majananto Mamavyayam Anuttamam. It's very interesting, and this is one of the well-cited shlokas in the Gita by philosophers. Says, Devantara Bhaktanam Alpamedasam Varta Duryatavadastam. Okay, forget about these people who are worshipping other devatas. That's one type of discussion. Vedadi samasta shastra darshino api mat tattvam na jananti. Even those who study the Vedas and come to Vedanta philosophy, even they don't understand me. Athapi te deva padambujadvaya prasada leshanu grihita evahi janati tattvan bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichiram nichimman. He's citing a shloka from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavata Puranam. This is a shloka said by Brahma to Vishnu. Says, Iti Brahmana api mam pratyuktam. Brahma is saying to Vishnu that, oh my Lord, oh Deva, your two lotus feet, Padambuja Dvaya, Prasada Leshanu Grihita Evahi. Only those who get even a drop of prasada, means that blessing, that grace from your two lotus feet, only they, Janati Tattvan Bhagavan Mahimna. They are able to understand you. Only they can understand you. Nacha anyaha ekopi chiram vichinvan. No one else. Anyaha ekopi chiram vichinvan means it says that not a single person otherwise, other than this, other than the person who is actually getting a grace of the lotus feet, grace of prasada from your lotus feet. Chiram vichinvan, who contemplates. Somebody may contemplate on the truth and the absolute truth for a long time, thinking that the truth is like this, it's like that. They do deep meditation, but they will not be able to understand you. Iti brahmana api mam pratyuktam. Ato madbhaktan vina mat tattvajnane sarvatra va alpa buddhaya hirtyaha. Avyaktam prapanchatitam nirakaram brahmaiva mam mayikakaratvena eva vyaktim Vasudeva grihe janma praptam nirbuddhaya manyante mayikakarasya eva drishatvat iti bhava. Similar to what we were discussing in the last class, that a school of thought that the real absolute truth is that Brahman, something called Brahma, which is nirakara, nirguna, nirvishesha. It has no form, it has no qualities, it has no characteristics. It's just completely, formless, abstract. It's completely abstract. So that abstract thing sometimes takes the form of Krishna, Rama, Durga, Ganesha. So this kind of a theory exists. Why it does? Why and how does it take that form? Under the influence of Maya, illusion. It comes under illusion. And Brahma comes under some illusion. And under illusion, it takes that form. And it's born like a normal human child. Okay, it's a human being only. And it has some powers. And we worship it. Because actually, we ourselves are Ishvara. We are not Jivatmas. Jivatma is only a upadhi. It's a conception. Okay, so there is this school of thought which says like this. So that is being attacked here. That's being refuted here. Yato mama param bhavam mayatitam swarupam janma karma leeladikam ajanantah. This is said by people. That's what this shloka is saying. This is said by people. This kind of school of thought is advocated by people who don't know my real nature, which is beyond Maya. They don't know that I never come under the influence of Maya. Maya cannot touch me. I'm beyond Maya. Those who don't know that, they say, avyaktam vyaktimapannam, means that the real reality is avyakta. It is just some, spread out thing which is pervading everything, is all pervading. It has no form, no characteristics. Vyaktimapannam, it takes a vyakti form. It has no vyaktitva of its own. So such people say this. Bhavam kidrisham avyayam nityam anuttamam sarvotkrishtam. This param bhavam ajananto mama avyayam anuttamam. I am avyaya, means I have no vyaya. So I will never come under the influence of Maya. Vyaya means what? Vyaya means that which gets spent, or that which degrades, deteriorates, right? So I am avyaya. I will never deteriorate. I never come under the influence of Maya. Anuttama means that is nothing that can surpass me. I am unsurpassed. I'm not surpassable. So people don't know this, and that is why they speak like that. Bhavaha satta swabhava abhipraya cheshtatma janmasu kriya leela padharteshu iti medini. It's referring to a dictionary. In Sanskrit, there are many dictionaries or thesauruses. Thesaurus means a book of synonyms, right? So Amara Kosha is one synonym book of synonyms. Similarly, there's one called Medini Kosha. This is also a book of synonyms. So this word bhava is explaining the word bhava used here. Bhava means satta, existence, or swabhava. Swabhava means one's intrinsic nature. Abhipraya cheshta atma janmasu kriya leela padarteshu. As seen in one's activities, one's fun and frolic, one's things, etc. So this is the meaning of the word bhava. Bhagavat swarupa guna janma karma leela nam anadyantatvena nityatvam Shri Rupa Goswami Charanaihi Bhagavatamrita Granthe Pratipaditam. So there's a book called Laghu Bhagavatamritam written by a scholar called Shri Rupa Goswami, who was a disciple of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so he's referring to that book. He's saying that in that book, Shri Rupa Goswami has clearly analyzed and explained how Shri Bhagavan's nature, Swarupa, his intrinsic nature, guna, qualities, his janma, his birth, his karma, his duties and responsibilities, his lila, his general activities. They are anadi and ananta. Anadi, anadyantatvena. Anadyanantatvena means they are no beginning and no end also. Mama parambhavam swarupam avyayam nitya vishuddhorjita sattva murtimiti Shri Swami Charanaihi Uttam. He's also citing, see, just like in our work as PhD students, because today we don't have any of the PhD students because some party is going on, right? Only one we have. Yeah. So just like in our scholarly work, we cite the work of other scholars. So he's citing earlier scholars. He's now citing a very famous scholar by name Sridhara Swami. Swami Charanaihi Uttam says, Sridhara Swami also says, Sridhara Swami actually was an Advaiti, but he was a Vishnu Bhakta Advaiti. It's among the Advaitis, there is one stream which they're called Bhagavata Advaitis. They follow the Bhagavatam and they believe that Bhagavan has a Nitya form, Nitya Rupa and everything. Says, Mama Param Bhavam Swarupam Avyayam Nitya Vishuddhorjita. Nitya Vishuddha means it's eternally pure. It never comes under the influence of Maya. It doesn't get polluted by Maya. Okay, so Sridhara Swami says that. Sridhara Swami is highly respected in the scholarly circles. He's an Advaiti and he writes like this. He accepts. The unintelligent people, okay, abuddhaya, this word abuddhaya means the unintelligent people, think of me as that which is unmanifest, avyakta, but acquires an individuality, vyaktimapannam, not knowing my superior existence that is imperishable and unsurpassed. So, this is how Sri Bhagavan is revealing about himself. He makes very bold statements. He contrasts himself with the other devatas. And out of his own compassion, he says that please take my refuge. If you take my refuge, then you will come to me and you will be eternally freed from all the misery that this samsara throws upon me. So that's the essence of the Gita. In the Gita, this is built upon. So today I just want to spend a few more minutes on this shloka, one more shloka, where he says, Naham prakashaha sarvasya yogamaya samavritaha mudhoyam nabhijanati lokoma majamavyayam. He says, I am not visible to everyone. Nanu bhaktaha iva abhaktascha tvam pratyakshi kurvanti prasadadeva bhajatsu abhivyaktiriti katham. Says that, well, when you come here, in the Krishna Lila, for example, there are some bhaktas. For example, the Pandavas are all bhaktas. They can see him. They know that he is Krishna and everything. They can interact with him, they play with him. The gopis, similarly, his mother, Devaki, Vasudeva, Nanda, Yashoda. So bhaktas, definitely they see you. But even the abhaktas also see you. For example, Kamsa could see you. He could fight with you. Duryodhana could see you. Duryodhana could talk to you. You could argue with him. So why are you saying that they don't know you, etc.? The last shloka, you seem to be saying that they don't know you and they don't understand you. What do you mean by that? So now he's saying that this shloka is spoken to make it more clear if there is a doubt like that. Tatraha nahamiti bhaktanam eva aham nitya vijnana sukhagana ananta kalyana gunakarma prakashaha abhivyaktaha. He says, only the bhaktas really know my nature. Even though everybody can see me when I come here, only the bhaktas know that I am Nitya Vijnana Sukhagana. I'm always full of knowledge. And I am filled with intense happiness. Sukhagana means I'm filled with intense happiness. Intense happiness is a part of me. Ananta Kalyana Guna Karma. Ananta means unending. Kalyana Guna Karma means very auspicious qualities and activities. I do them. And that only my bhaktas are able to see. Others don't see it that way. Okay, so I'm going to come now to the example of Duryodhana to explain and elaborate on this point. Yadaham yogamaya samavritaha mad vimukha vyamohakatva yoga yuktya mayaya samachanna parisaraha ityarthaha. It's because I am covered by my yoga maya. Okay, so Krishna has one of his shaktis called as Maya. This Maya is also referred to sometimes as Yoga Maya, sometimes referred to as Mahamaya. Mahamaya is also called Durga. It's also called Durga because Durga literally in Sanskrit means Dukkhena Gantum Shakya. One who cannot be crossed over easily, or who cannot be surpassed easily. If you have to surpass Durga, Dukkena Gantum Shakya, very difficult to cross over her. So she is also Maya. She takes the form of Maya, and she does the thankless job of keeping the Jivatmas under illusion, keeps us under illusion. So he says this Maya, when she does another function of covering the eyes of the Jivatmas, covering me, in the sense they cannot understand me. They cannot really, when they try to understand what the reality is, they are not able to understand me very easily. That is done by Yoga Maya. That Maya is called Yoga Maya. And that is referred to in this shloka. This Maya samachanna parisaraha ityartha. Yaduktam Maya javanika channa mahimne brahmane namaha. So in some prayer, referring to some prayer in which his Maya is compared to a curtain. Javanika means a curtain. So Maya is a curtain which prevents the Jivatma from clearly seeing Bhagavan. They cannot see Bhagavan. Even though they may be seeing him physically, when they are not able to interpret and really understand that, okay, he is the supreme, that Brahman that we have been worshipping, everything belongs to him, everything resides in him. They're not able to appreciate that. Maya mudhoyam lokaha ati manusha devata prabhavam vidirudhradi vanditamapi mamna abhijanam. Even though all the devatas, including Brahma and Shiva, they worship me, this Yoga Maya keeps them in illusion, and they are not able to appreciate me. And what is my nature? Ajam. I am unborn. Janma shunyam. I don't have any birth. Ito avyayam. Aprachyuta swarupa samarthya sarvagyadikam. I am aprachyuta. I never fall down. I never have existence like the Jivatma. And sarvagyam means I am all-knowing. There's nothing that I don't know. Okay, so all these qualities people are not able to see. So naham prakashaha sarvasya. I'm not visible, or I'm not cognizable by everyone. Yoga Maya samavritaha, covered by this Yoga Maya. Mudahayam, mudaha ayam, this foolish person. Na abhijanati, does not know me. Lokaha ma ajam avyayam. That I am actually ajam, I am unborn, and I am avyaya. I never have any destruction. Covered by my Yoga Maya. I'm not visible, cognizable by everyone. The foolish person does not know me. He is unborn and imperishable. So this famous character called Duryodhana, one of the major characters of the Mahabharata, because of whom the Mahabharata came into existence. Right? Duryodhana didn't exist, then probably we won't have the Mahabharata.
The villain of Mahabharata.
The villain of Mahabharata, who played a bigger role. Like, for example, in the movie called The Sholay, if you ask who was the actual most prominent character of Sholay, what do they say? It's not Amitabh Bachchan, but the guy who played that villain role, right? Yeah, who's that guy? Amjad Ali Khan. Okay, so whoever played that role, they say it's that character who played. He's the most prominent character of that film, the famous film. Similarly, in Mahabharata, the person who made Mahabharata possible is Duryodhana, actually, right? So he's in that sense the heroic villain of Mahabharata. So what was his character like? Okay, so the Mahabharata actually is a very elaborate text written by Sri Vedavyasa. And it is said that it is actually so elaborate that it exists in Swargaloka in an enormously huge form that we would not be able to read it if it is given to us in that form. And therefore, Vyasa manifested a form of Mahabharata, which is a condensed version of that. And that condensed version that's available with us today, it is 100,000 shlokas long. 100,000 shlokas divided into 18 parvas, right? Beginning with the Adi Parva and ending with what is called the Swargarohana Parva. 18 parvas long. And across these 18 parvas, there are 2,200 odd chapters. Okay. So what I did as a part of my preparation for this class, I went through one of the parvas called the Udyoga Parva. And in the Udyoga Parva, I went through a few chapters. And in these chapters, this is just before the war, the Kurukshetra war, when it's been decided to have the war, but still people are trying to avoid. All the intelligent people, the elders, they don't want the war. Nobody wants the war. Right? Nobody wants any war anyway, anytime, right? Except this guy whose photo we see here. So Nobody wants the war. So the person who most doesn't want the war is Krishna. Right? So Krishna comes all the way from Dwaraka and he comes to Hastinapura. And he comes and he wants to talk to Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana, etc. and try to convince them not to have the war. So these chapters from chapter number 88 in the Udyoga Parva to chapter number 131 is all about Krishna's visit to Hastinapura and all the different conversations he had with different people. It's very, very elaborate. And it's like you can write a book on the whole thing. So to tell you in a very short way, what essentially I found, I'm just going to summarize something that I think is relevant for our discussion today. Okay, let me just figure out how to magnify this now. I don't have my mouse. For some reason this is not working, but
Yes, it will work. Can we click here, sir?
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. It is hanged.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so you can. Got it.
This particular thing is not working. There's one way to enlarge this, no? Can you do that?
No, it's wrong.
Okay, doesn't matter.
You can try and view.
Sir, it's readable, sir.
Yeah, okay. We'll continue
It's
with this.
readable, sir. Yeah.
It's readable, yeah. Whatever we can understand. So here in chapter number 88, first of all, there's a conversation between these three people, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, and Bhishma. And so Duryodhana's mentality, which is what I want to highlight in today's class, that's my intention. I'm not going to go into all the details of Krishna's visit, just to highlight what Duryodhana's thinking was like. So here in this chapter, Duryodhana basically, he is not happy that Dhritarashtra, his father, has made elaborate arrangements for Krishna's visit. So Dhritarashtra has told that, we are getting Krishna himself, Bhagavan is coming to see us. Dhritarashtra knows that Krishna is Bhagavan, so he is coming here. And he's told his son that please make elaborate arrangements. And Duryodhana makes them. As a son, he just follows that. But he's not happy. So in this conversation, he's telling his father, Dhritarashtra, and Bhishma Pitama, his grandfather, who's sitting there. He tells them that, look, I don't think we should overdo this. Like we sometimes say, we are overdoing this. So I don't think we should overdo this. Krishna is maybe Bhagavan and all that. I agree that, okay, I agree whatever you guys say. You say that he's Bhagavan, he's everything. I agree with all that. But right now he's coming to us in the context of this war. And therefore, we should not give him all this pampering that you're talking about. We should not give him all these gifts. Normally, when some guest comes, we may give all this. But right now, we should not give him anything. Let him come. We'll talk to him. He says that. So hearing the way he speaks, his words are very, very harsh. So when he speaks like that, Bhishma first, he's very unhappy. Yes, Bhishma is a bhakta. So he says, don't speak like that. That's not the way to speak about Krishna. He's not an ordinary person. And definitely, of course, he doesn't care whether you pamper him or not. He's not coming for that. It's our duty to give him all these things. And you should not speak like this. It's not proper for you to speak like this. And he tells Dhritarashtra that you please advise him not to speak like this. So then Duryodhana, after hearing this, he says that I don't agree with you. He tells his grandfather that you want me to unite with the Pandavas and stop this war, but there is no possibility of me uniting with them. I can never live with them. There's never any possibility that you can give up that hope. If you ever thought that I was going to unite with them, then please give up that hope. So then he requests Bhishma and Dhritarashtra. He says that I want to basically make it very simple. My plan is very simple. When Krishna comes here tomorrow, we'll just catch him and imprison him, put him in the prison. Then one problem is solved. Because all these Pandavas, they think that he's great and they're all relying on him. So we'll eliminate one enemy. And once we eliminate Krishna, then those people also will automatically be eliminated. Okay, so please give me some good ideas as to how we can do this. So Dhritarashtra is completely shocked upon hearing that. He says, what are you doing? He scolds him. Don't speak like this. You never speak like this. He rebukes him and he says that you are a papi and all this. So Dhritarashtra also has got, he's not dushta. He's just under the influence of the love for his son, bodily attachment. That Maya is working on him. But he has enough knowledge of dharma and enough sense of bhakti in him to know that Sri Krishna is Bhagavan. And he's got his character, he's Paramatma, and one should not ever disrespect him. Okay. Now I've actually made more notes, but for some reason I think this word file is gone into Maya and it's not cooperating with us. But again, let me try to open it. Let's depend on Krishna here. Yes, and now it will cooperate. See, anything you write about Duryodhana also behaves a bit like this, right? Okay, so then what happens? In chapter number 92, I'm skipping some chapters in between. Now, this is a conversation between Vidura and Krishna. So here I mined out some properties that we would want to know so that we can avoid those qualities. And Vidura is telling Krishna here that, look, so now this is after Vidura has done his service to Krishna. He has actually honored him as a guest. He has fed him, etc., etc. All that loving interaction with Vidura and Krishna is over. And at the end of it, before Krishna leaves Vidura's house, he tells him, look, Krishna, I would like to tell you, you've come here with a good intention, but I would like to tell you that there is no point in speaking to this fellow. We've been speaking to him, his father, his grandfather, all of us have been speaking to him, giving him advice, but whatever you tell him, he only gets angry. So there's no point in wasting your time. And somebody like you, a noble person like you, should not speak to a character like him, should not even interact with him. So I advise you not to go to him. So in the course of saying this, over a span of 30 shlokas, Vidura lists these qualities of Duryodhana. He says Duryodhana has transgressed the principles of both dharma and artha. Because both dharma and artha are meant to be followed in a particular manner. There's a lot of niyam for that. So he transgresses all of that. Duryodhana is an angry person. He's always eager to have honor and respect for himself. And at the same time, he's very, very expert in dishonoring and destroying the dignity of other people. Okay. Now, as I list these qualities, I want each of us to sort of contemplate on to what extent one or more of these qualities are present in us and also present in some of the other people we see around us, right? But first in us and then in others we see around us to understand them better. Duryodhana has discarded the advice given to him by elders and teachers, and he regularly discards. He doesn't listen to them. He's a fool because he has no regard for the teachings of Dharma Shastra. He's very obstinate in his viewpoint and opinion. He's deeply attached to sense enjoyment. He considers himself a very learned scholar, learned pandita. He behaves offensively with his own friends and well-wishers. He sees everyone with suspicion, doesn't trust anyone. He neither helps anyone nor acknowledges the help that he receives from others. He has discarded righteousness, dharma, and has embraced the untruth, asatya. He lacks conscience comprehensively, vivek. Conscience, vivek. Doesn't have even a bit of conscience. He lacks a steady intelligence in anything. He lacks the ability to keep the senses under control. He constantly goes after material desires. He lacks certainty in thinking about his work. He becomes angry when offered good counsel. He considers himself accomplished for having gathered the support of several kings. So by this time, when Vidura is speaking to Krishna at this point of time, both the sides, Pandavas and Kauravas, already gathered the support of different other kings and they have built their armies. It so happens that Duryodhana has built 11 Akshavadis of strength. And the Pandavas side, they have 7 Akshavadis, 11:7 ratio. Right? That's the imbalance between them. So because of this, Duryodhana is completely bloated. He's inflated. He thinks that. And he also believes that Karna alone can defeat all the enemies. There's one person. So much faith in one guy. In his life, he has never served elderly people. See, in our dharma, in the Sanatana dharma, the importance of serving elderly people. Elderly includes, including even our own elder brother or elder sister, or, need not be old people, elderly people, teachers, etc. This is considered very, very important. There's a shloka in the Niti which goes something like this. It says, Abhivadanashilasya nityam vriddhopasevinah chatvarastasya vardhante ayur vidya yasho balam. Okay, I don't know if you understood. Abhivadanashilasya, one who is expert in doing abhivadanam. Abhivadanam means it's a procedure for offering respect to elders. Okay, one who is expert in doing that. And nityam vriddhopasevinah, who is always serving the elderly people, who is always engaged in the service of elderly people. For such a person, chatvarastasya vardhante. 4 things always grow in that person. What are those 4 things? Chatvarastasya vardhante, ayur, vidya, yasho, balam. Ayu means lifespan. Vidya, knowledge. Yashaha means reputation. And balam, strength. Okay, so ayur, vidya, yasho, balam. These 4 things always grow in a person who is an expert in offering respect to others and in serving his elders. But Duryodhana has never served elderly people. Duryodhana is deluded by the wealth of his royalty. He is very proud and arrogant about his youthfulness. And he bears, it's called Amarsha. Last class, if you recollect, we discussed the shloka, we say Harsha Amarsha Bhayadyogei. Harsha and Amarsha. Amarsha means anger, hatred towards others. So in this case of Duryodhana, he always has this malice and anger towards the Pandavas. So maybe if it had been somebody else like Karna or somebody, he would have given some part of the kingdom. But the Pandavas, no. Owing to his wealth, he thinks he has conquered the entire earth. And he's always desiring that he will rule the earth devoid of all enemies. So he wants to get rid of anybody who he thinks is his enemy. Okay, now, after all this is the 91st chapter, 92nd chapter, where Vidura is listing these 26 qualities and convincing Krishna, trying to convince Krishna. Then after that, Krishna convinces Vidura. He says that, look, I've come here on a mission. And if I don't do what I've come here to do, then people will say that this person is Bhagavan, but even though he's Bhagavan, he didn't make any efforts to bring about peace. Everybody wants peace, and I am the one who wants it most. And people will say that, look, Bhagavan himself, he was here, but he never tried to bring peace. And people will speak ill of me, people will speak ill of Dharma. Therefore, as a matter of duty, I will just go and speak to him. Whether he listens or not, we will see later. So in the next chapters, from the 92nd chapter to the 127th chapter, Krishna is speaking to Duryodhana. He gives a long bhashan. And in the course of that, many others in the assembly, like Narada, who comes there at that time, and Kanva Maharishi, then Bhishma, and so many others, they also speak to Duryodhana. They try to convince him to not have the war. At the end of all that, Duryodhana responds. Okay, now he's given a time to respond after he has heard everything. He says that, look, I have done nothing wrong. After hearing all the wrong that he has done, he says, I have done nothing wrong. Always, all of you, my grandfather Bhishma, my father Dhritarashtra, my uncle Vidura, you, Krishna, and everybody, all the elders, my Guru Dronacharya, everybody, all the time, they're only saying that Pandavas are good, I am bad. Why is this? What wrong have I done? The Pandavas came here, they came to play with us. We played with them. We played according to the principles of Dharma. They played, we played. They lost. And once they lost, we were kind enough to give back the kingdom to them. Then they again came. And this time they said that if they lose, they'll go to the forest. They lost. So they went to the forest. What wrong have I done? Why are you blaming me? They came to play. We played with them. They lost the match. After losing the match, they did what they were told to do, they were supposed to do. I have not done anything to them. So you are blaming me for all the suffering they have gone through. I know they have gone through suffering, but why am I being blamed for it? They should be blamed for their own suffering. Correct, no? Why should you blame some other guy for somebody's suffering? Blame those people only. So this is Duryodhana's logic. So in this chapter, chapter 127, he sort of tells his thinking, and he says that I have thought over this. It's a very significant shloka where he says, I have reflected very deeply on this, what you people are telling me. This is not the first time I'm hearing on this. I've thought over it so much. but I'm not able to find one iota of mistake in what I have done. There's not one little thing that I have done wrong. Okay? So now I want you to see how, people who do wrong, they're not able to believe that they have done wrong. They don't believe they have done wrong. It's not like they know they have done wrong and they're trying to hide it. They believe that that is the right thing to do. For example, this guy insulted Draupadi so cruelly, extremely cruelly, right? Nobody should be insulted like that. What to speak of a woman, young woman who is helpless. And she's that too also in a menstrual period at that point of time. So that's the last thing we should do to a woman at that time, right? She should be in the room. She should not even come out of the room at that time. That's our culture. She should be protected. But he insults her. Extremely badly he insults her. But even after doing that, he says, with all his sincerity, he's saying it here. If you read this chapter, you will see how sincerely he's saying it. He believes it. He believes that he has not done anything wrong. He genuinely believes that. He's not simply saying it. He believes he's not done anything wrong. So in chapter 128, Krishna becomes very angry and he says, what the hell are you saying? You have done everything wrong. Everything possible that could be done, you have done. And he orders that Duryodhana should be tied up and thrown into the prison. And then something else happens in the next 2-3 chapters. And finally, Krishna, out of his extreme desperation, you can say, driven to the final thing, he says that the last thing I will try to convince Duryodhana is by showing my Vishwarupa. So there he shows his Vishwarupa. This is in chapter 131. And everybody present there also sees it. They're giving them and they close their eyes. They're not able to take that. And interestingly, there's a small anecdote inside this chapter where Dhritarashtra, so he begs him. He says that I'm blind by birth. I'm not able to see this thing. Please give me the 2 eyes with which I can see. So immediately Krishna responds because he asks him in such devotion. With bhakti, he asks him, please give me those 2 eyes with which I can see your beautiful form. So immediately Krishna blesses him and Dhritarashtra gets the 2 eyes with which he can see.
But then he can't stand that and then he immediately asks to take that eyesight back.
Takes it back. Okay. So this is the character of Duryodhana, which I could touch upon in a few minutes in this class. I wish we can go into more detail. And the reason for saying this is because in today's shlokas in the Gita, we heard why it is difficult to understand Krishna. When we have a character like Duryodhana, it's impossible to understand Krishna. Even though Krishna is in front of him, he goes to the extent of even showing him the Vishwarupa. He gives him all possible logic. Krishna is personally talking to him, but he's not able to understand, appreciate that. Right? It's because of the Durguna that we have, all the characters, the qualities that we have. And if we have to understand Krishna, which effectively means understand the Bhagavad-Gita, then we have to develop good qualities in us. So to some extent, if we are honest with ourselves, we'll realize if we look inside ourselves, to some extent, we are of course not like Duryodhana. Nobody is like Duryodhana. It's an extreme case, but to some extent, each of us has some drop of Duryodhana with us in some way or the other. And our effort should be to remove that and become Yudhishthira. Yudhishthira is the other extreme of the spectrum, right? The other end of the spectrum is Yudhishthira, where he has all the good qualities. And Krishna also worships him, right? So the whole message of the Gita is to develop those good qualities, that we also become divine, right? And eventually we become worthy of God himself wanting to see us and becoming our companion. So today I've taken much longer than my normal class. And so now I will leave the remaining time for your comments, questions, etc.
Duryodhana was so arrogant that he said, I will not even give one needle breadth of...
Yes.
Krishna just wanted that you give 5 villages and we are done. We don't need the kingdom.
Exactly. He says that here.
He negotiated so well.
Yes. Duryodhana says, I will not give even that much land. He says the Pandavas don't deserve that, he says. They should not be given because they have made the mistakes. That's his logic. They should not be given that. And that's what makes Krishna very angry, extremely angry.
Sir, when we talk about devas, so sir, can you please elaborate more on devas? So who do we call devas? Are they the sons of Aditi or maybe something else?
The sons of Aditya are called Adityas. They are one subgroup of the devas. But There are 33 crore devas, we say, right? So the devas are basically divine beings. It's one class of beings in this universe, just like Manushya. We are Manushyas. There are devas, there are Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Nagas. There are different types of beings that are created by Brahma. So some of them have a human-like form, right? Some of them have a partly human, partly animal-like form. Some of them are completely different. Vanaras, they have a monkey-like form. So devas are one type of beings, and they have the good qualities. They have the qualities that dharma advocates. They live their life in accordance with dharma, even though they are materialistic. So they have attained the position of deva because they have done punya. They have desired that position. Just like somebody desires to become a rich person, then he does the hard work of being a rich person and becomes a rich person. Okay, let's say that he becomes rich by following the legitimate process, not illegally. But legitimately, he works hard, and by working hard, he does good things, and then he becomes rich. In the same way, the devas are jivatmas who actually do punya, do tapasya, etc., and then are born as devas, divine beings. And as devas, they get responsibilities. This universe is run by devas. Just like this country is run by the bureaucrats, the IAS officers, the IPS officers, right? It's supposed to be run by them, right? They hold those posts. Like somebody is a commissioner of a city. Somebody is a collector. He's in charge of collecting tax or whatever. Somebody is in charge of something else. So the devas have different roles to play in the management of this universe, the administration, execution of this universe.
So is it so that the karma leads to a birth, a divine birth in the next life?
Yes, in a future life. So there are, for example, to become an Indra, it is said, if a king does 100 Ashwamedha yagas, upon completing 100 Ashwamedha yagas, he gets the adhikar to become Indra, right? Of course, some people, they illegally want to become, like Bali, for example. The story of Bali.
Sir, I've heard he was a very virtuous person, and Vaman Avatar had actually come to maybe say demolish him or bless him, whatever way you.
Yeah. So Vamana comes. We discussed this story once, very briefly. Yeah, to tell you very briefly. Vamana, Bali is the grandson of our Prahlad, right? Prahlad is a Mahabhakta, the Shuddha Bhakta, the Jnani Bhakta, Jnanavan. So he's very dear to Krishna, very dear to Vishnu, and he has no fear. He's fearless because of his realization. He's always got Bhagavad Sakshatkar. He can always see Bhagavan wherever he is. Right? So because of that, he has no fear at all. But Bali is not like that. Bali is just a pious person. But although he's pious, he's got very strong material desire. He wants to become the Adhyaksha of this universe. So he's not happy being where he is. Although he's got a palace and he's got a lot of riches. He's a descendant of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. But he's not happy with that. So he wants to conquer Swargaloka. So he goes to Swargaloka and throws Indra out with all his powers. Right? He chucks him out. In fact, the way it's described, Bali was so powerful that he didn't have to fight with Indra. He went and stood outside the palace, Amravati. He took all his armies and forces. Because he had done so much tapasya, he had become so strong that when he went and stood outside the palace of Indra, Indra and the other devas surrendered immediately. They said, we can't fight with this. They went away from there. And so Bali occupied that kingdom. So Bali started ruling there, and Indra and the devatas went to Brahma, like they always do, and in turn went to Bhagavan. And then Bhagavan said, okay, now I'll take birth as the son of Aditi. And he took birth as Vamana. So in the Rupa as Vamana, he comes and humiliates Bali. He wants to show Bali his rightful place. You think you are a big guy? Okay, now let me show you what you are. So he teaches him a lesson. The lesson of him asking for a boon. I mean, he's not asking for a boon. Bali asks him to ask for something.
Whatever.
And so it's done very beautifully. Yeah. And eventually Bali gets this thing. And so at that point of time, Prahlad appears there. And by the kripa of Prahlad, by the grace, because Prahlad is a Mahabhakta, right? And by his kripa, Bhagavan agrees to give bhakti to Bali also. Bali gets bhakti, and he says that I will, he goes against his own guru, Shukracharya. He refutes what Shukracharya says, that now this is Bhagavan and I can't refuse him, whatever he wants. You say that he will take away everything, let him take away everything. It's okay. But I have to give it. So at that point, he makes the right choice and gets the blessings of Bhagavan. And now I told all this because in the next lifetime, or the next Manvantara, this is called the Vaivasvata Manvantara. And the current Indra, his name is Purandara. A person by name Purandara is now the Indra of Svargaloka, Rajendra. Next one will be Bali. After this Manvantara is over, Bali will become the Indra for one Manvantara. He will rule Svargaloka for one Manvantara. So the desire that he had to become Indra was not fulfilled in this lifetime. So he has been sent to a place called Sutala. Sutala is one of the lower planetary systems. So he's living there now. So Vishnu also has blessed him that you will live there, you will live in a happy way, and you will see me. I will always be in front of you. You will worship me. And at the end of this life, you will be born as Indra and you will rule the Svargaloka for one Manvantara. And after that, you will get mukti. You will be delivered.
Sir, I also had.
I think you asked me about what the devas are, and I've given you a whole exposition.
Yeah, but I think that is very much explanatory. Sir, I had another instance. I think it was clarified to some extent while you were delivering the discourse. But again, for further clarification, so if I talk about Ramayana, so there Lord Ram is shown as an ardent devotee of Lord Shiva, and he always constantly meditates on it. And even we see the temple Rameshwar, it was Ramasya Ishvara, he quotes that devoted towards Shiva. Although Lord Shiva says that no, it is me who is the devotee of Lord Ram, and this is something they point out towards each other. But anyway, so now here Lord Ram, being a form of Vishnu himself, is worshipping Lord Shiva. And another instance also, before the battle with Ravana, it is said that Lord Ram was a little nervous or anxious, or maybe say a little depressed also. And then Sage Agastya, he came there, he was amongst the Devas, and when he saw this, he came towards Lord Ram. And then he gave him the Aditya Hridaya Stotra. So this Aditya is for the Surya. So then when he gave him this Stotra, so this is for worshipping Surya. And so after he sung these hymns, after he sung these mantras, so all of his shok was nasht ho gaya pura. So, sir, how do we reconcile with all these shlokas?
Yeah. It's in alignment to what we heard today, no? Kamaistaisthya hitagyanaha prapadyanti anya devataha tam nemamastaya prakritiya niyata swaya sataya shraddhaya yuktaha tasya radhanamihate labate tachata kaman mayeva vihitan hitan. So, different people by their own nature, they have a tendency to worship different devatas. And they are given that Shraddha by Sri Bhagavan. And one of the ways he does this is that when he comes in his own Leela here, when he comes as Rama, for example, he comes in the Leela of a Kshatriya, as a Maryada Purushottam, or what you call Adarsha Purusha. I mean, these are examples for us. So he conducts his life in a manner where he wants to show how to practice Dharma, how Dharma should be practiced in the correct way. And a part of practicing Dharma is to worship different devatas according to your Shraddha, right? So those who worship Shiva, for example, will now look at this Rama worshipping Shiva and say, yes, see, even Rama is worshipping Shiva. Shiva is the supreme deity. That Shraddha will develop in them. Similarly, when they worship Surya, those who worship Surya will say what you said just now, right? They will see that Rama has been given the Aditya Hridaya by this Agastya Rishi, and it's there in Ramayana itself. And therefore, this is a very elevated thing. Aditya Hridayam and worship of Surya is a very elevated thing. The Shraddha develops in them. We follow. So to give that Shraddha, he's showing. In the Bhagavad-Gita, he points that out. Bhagavad-Gita is a much higher text than the Ramayana. Ramayana establishes certain types of Siddhanta for us. Right? Mahabharata. The Bhagavad-Gita stands out in the Mahabharata. The rest of the Mahabharata doesn't have the same position as the Bhagavad-Gita has. Correct? Bhagavad-Gita is the jewel, the crest jewel of Mahabharata. So even in the Mahabharata, I don't know, I haven't read the rest of the Mahabharata in as much detail as I read this portion. I just know the story in general. But there could be places where Krishna is worshipping some other deity, maybe Durga or something. But when he comes, he practices dharma in the way in which dharma is prevalent in society to reinforce that faith, to show how it is done.
Sir, one more thing. When you talked about Brahma being in Yoga Nidra, so when you talk about Yoga Nidra, is it the same as the Turiya state?
Yeah, it's a samadhi state, turiya state, yes.
How is it then different from his active state? I mean, he is a realized person, right? So,
That is called Jagriti. There are 4 states: Jagriti, Swapna, Sushupti, and Turiya. Turiya or Samadhi, it's also called sometimes Samadhi, and the 4th state. So, Brahma's daytime is in the Jagriti state. Of course, his Jagriti state also would be like some kind of Samadhi, trance, because in that trance he is always thinking of Vishnu, always thinking of Krishna, right? So for him it is like that. But for a normal yogi or a human being, a yogi may go between these 4 states, a practicing yogi who is not yet in a state like Brahma.
Regarding the devotion of the, let's say, devotee towards the devatas, are they said to be, let's say, on the wrong path, or is it the fact that they will receive some sort of direction from the devata to attain Sri Bhagavan? Because Sri Bhagavan does given the faith, or like gives them the ability to the devata to have that faith in the devata, so that they can later on have that sort of let's say faith in Sri Bhagavan himself. So what is that journey that you track from having the faith in the devata towards having the faith in Sri Bhagavan?
The first part of your question, I'll say that, well, you said, is it wrong? Are they on the wrong path? The word wrong is not absolutely accurate, because after all, worshipping devatas also is part of dharma in general, samanya dharma. So if you follow the dharma, if you follow the procedure, the paddhati given, and worship any devata, then you're fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, what is, if at all you have to use the word wrong, you can use it in the sense that it is inferior. Worshipping Sri Bhagavan is superior as far as the shloka is concerned, because it takes you to the eternal destination. It's like the difference between aiming for the long term or planning only for the short term and forgetting about the long term. So this is inferior to that. In that sense, it is wrong. Okay, now, whether by worshipping that devata, they will get faith in Vishnu, no, not at all. There is no guarantee of that. And that's exactly what he is saying here. That Devan Devayajo Yanti, Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. Says the devas, the people who worship the devas, they will eventually go and attain those devas, provided they do it properly. And otherwise, they'll just take birth again as another human being or animal or whatever. But if they do that devata worship properly, then probably they will take birth in a place where that devata resides, and they will become his associate.
And the consequent or subsequent births, they will be able to then realize Sri Bhagavan.
No, there is no guarantee of that. They may continue with that devata until that devata's term is over as a devata, and then they will take birth again in some pious family or something. Now, the faith in Bhagavan, the shraddha in Bhagavan, the conviction in Bhagavan comes with some kripa. There is some Bhagavad kripa happening somewhere, which is said to be ahetuki. Means it doesn't have a logical cause. There's no logical reason why it should come. But it sometimes manifests, and somebody is attracted to Sri Bhagavan, and then they decide to stick with that attraction. So,
you have to lose your faith in that devata to then attain Sri Bhagavan, that you need to pull yourself back from that position that you attain in order to accept greater faith in Sri Bhagavan.
if it has to happen, then it won't happen logically. It will happen very spontaneously or naturally. When you develop an attraction towards Sri Bhagavan, then automatically you may lose the attraction towards the deity, or you may see that that deity that you have been worshipping is actually a part of that Bhagavan. You may say that, okay, I didn't see this larger picture. I didn't know this larger entity. I always thought that Krishna was just another devata who is playing in Vrindavan with the girls and all that. So people have a conception of Krishna like that, right? I always thought like that, but suddenly the knowledge comes by some means. And then he realizes, no, I was thinking wrongly. Now I understand correctly. I have seen cases like that. People changing like that. Yeah.
So could we draw this analogy as in Krishna is the goal and the deity whoever we are fascinated with is just a manifestation of that goal, as in the deity is a bracelet, but underlying that bracelet is nothing but gold. So something like that.
In a very mild sense, yes, but not in an absolute sense, because that's what he's refuting here. By going to the devatas, you are not going to Bhagavan. In fact, in the 9th chapter, there's one shloka. He says, I'll tell you the translation. I'm not able to remember the original Sanskrit right now. He says that those who worship the other devatas, actually they are worshipping me only, but they are doing it in the wrong way, avidhi purvakam. He says they're doing it avidhi purvakam, means they're doing it wrongly.
So isn't it the same as in I'm being illusioned that this bracelet is true or this necklace is true, but ultimately what is truth is the gold, not the bracelet, because it's just a form of the gold.
Maybe. I'm not sure that's the best example. I get what you're saying, but I'm not sure that's the best analogy for explaining this.
Because
Doing one thing that you want to achieve in a wrong manner. For example, all of us want eternal happiness. So you worship some devata. And devata cannot give you eternal happiness, but because that devata is also a part of Krishna, Krishna is a manifestation of that devata. I mean, devata is a manifestation of Krishna. You are indirectly worshipping Krishna. But you're doing it wrongly because you don't understand Krishna at all. What you understand is some of the properties that the devata is exhibiting. That's all.
Also, the difference between his analogy comes to the fact that in a bracelet you have all the qualities of gold, but in the devata you don't have all the qualities of
Krishna. Yeah. Yeah. So that analogy is not the best one for this purpose.
Professor Krishna, Sri Bhagavan also said that you're going to a god, devata, so you will give him as per his or her capacity,
Yes.
right? And if you're coming to me, I will give my infinite capacity. So, yeah, so analogy of that bracelet might not fit there.
I think the bracelet can be used only for beauty, but for gold, you can use it in any sense. Like you can make a jug or maybe say cavity filling for your teeth. So
Right. Okay. Maybe in that sense, yes. Yeah, in that sense, yes. So the 7th chapter of Gita is actually where he talks about Jnana and Vijnana, about himself. So he makes us aware of different aspects about himself, because until the 6th chapter, he has spoken very little about himself. Until in the first 6 chapters, he's spoken only about the Veda between himself, or the Veda between the Atma and the Deha. Body and the Atma are different from each other. He's spoken about Samadhi, he's spoken about Yoga, spoken about Karma Yoga, Chitta Shuddhi, Jnana, etc. But he's not spoken about himself. Only from 7th chapter, he starts speaking about himself. And that builds now. Because now 8th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th chapter, 10th chapter, he talks about his vibhutis. 11th chapter, he shows Vishwarupa. 12th chapter, he speaks about bhakti. It gets more and more deep as it goes forward. The next 6 chapters, beginning with the 7th chapter, a lot of jnana about Krishna is given. And then we understand the difference between, Krishna, coming to Krishna and going to another deva. That distinction becomes more clear.
Getting somewhere in the 6th chapter, you mentioned one verse wherein he explains why, even though, let's say, he's very humble, he still speaks about himself. Right?
Yes.
Can you just remind me why is it that we bring in that?
Because we said that here he is demonstrating compassion. He's not speaking out of pride or it's not about narcissism. He's talking about himself. He wants others to know how glorious he is. He doesn't care, because he also says that these things don't matter to me at all. But he wants to make himself available to the jivatmas who are suffering. When he sees the jivatmas suffering in this world, and he knows that the suffering will stop the moment they come to me. The moment they take my refuge, the suffering will stop. Eternally stop, not just for some time. I can eternally put an end to it.
It's a way of him communicating the fact that you're true happiness or the way you realize your true self is
Yeah.
through me, and
Yeah.
that's like a guidance instead of something that speaks more about the pride in himself.
Exactly. It's analogous to a mother who's telling her child, the child wants to run here and there. The child wants to try different things which are potentially harmful to the child, which can put the child's life in danger, or the child can suffer. And the mother goes on telling to the child that, listen to what I am saying. I am your mother. I know this. Isn't it? Hasn't our mother and father told us many times this one? You should learn to listen to your parents. That's why you're a fool. My mother has told me many times, and even now sometimes she says that. You don't listen to me. That is why this is happening to you. Right? So when our mother speaks like this, do we think that she's speaking out of pride or arrogance or something? No, never. Right? We always understand that the mother or father say it only because they think that we don't know, and many times that's the case also. That's the truth. We don't know what it is, and that's why they're telling us that. Right? So we should understand Bhagavan speaking in that mode here. He's speaking out of compassion, seeing us as his small amshas, small children who are lost in this samsara, in Maya. It's out of that compassion that he's speaking. That's the only way to understand the Gita.
Sir, I had one more question. So, do events repeat as they were in different manvantaras or say different yugas? So, as in Chatur Yuga, so there was one, say, Treta Yuga, wherein all this Ramayana happened. So, in every Treta Yuga, there would be one Ramayana. And
there
in
is-
every Yuga, there would be some Sarthak sitting in front of some Ajit Sat. So, is this cyclicity eternal?
Yeah, so I don't know to what level it is. For example, if Ramayana is happening many times, yes, that I have heard. But Sarthak sitting in front of me, that that may not happen.
I will tell you.
So that's called Anupurvi. There's a term for that called Anupurvi. Means, yeah. So I don't know whether it happens in every Treta Yuga or every Yuga. Every time the same Yuga comes, the same events will happen. For example, I've heard that in every Kalpa it happens once. Some things happen once in every Kalpa. Like for example, Krishna comes in some form. For example, we say that Krishna is in the Kali Yuga, in this Kali Yuga, in this particular Vaibhasvata Manvantara, appears as Krishna Chaitanya, Gauranga, Mahaprabhu. So he takes this form because he wants to spread Sankirtana, Nama Sankirtana. So, and that it is said to be once in a day of Brahma, one Kalpa. There's 1,000 Chaturyugas. Once in every 1,000 Chaturyugas, he appears once in that form. It's a very rare form, and it's a Channa. That means he doesn't publicize himself as Krishna. It is known by some Shastric statements that he is Krishna. So whether every avatar, like for example, Ramayana happens in every Treta Yuga, I'm not very sure about that. But I do know that these things repeat themselves.
So if someone attains Mukti, so might not necessarily be sitting or in the same place where as in you are sitting here today. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. One example of this is the story of Parikshit visiting to Shukadeva, and finally the way in which Parikshit leaves his body. Right? In the Bhagavatam, the version given of the story of Shukadeva, Parikshit, and finally the Takshaka snake coming and biting him, that's different from the way it's explained in the Mahabharata. There's a difference in the versions. The story has slightly different versions. The Parikshit here, when he is passing in the last moments, in the Bhagavatam, he doesn't offer any resistance. He just says that now it's time for Takshaka to come, and Takshaka comes. They try to prevent it. The people around him, obviously, they don't want it to happen. So they try to prevent it. And through some fruit, that Takshaka takes the form of some worm inside some apple and then comes out or something, and then comes and bites him or something. So in the Mahabharata, it happens, they build a whole, they build him in some enclosure. They put him in some enclosure. They build some enclosure around him to prevent anything from going inside, so that if Takshaka comes also, they will fight with him. But somehow he gets inside and he kills him. So there's a slight difference in the version. So the explanation for that, why it is different, is that the two are referring to two different versions of Mahabharata. This Parikshit is not the same as that Parikshit. They haven't happened in two different kalpas.
even the Jivatma is
The Jivatma is different. It's a different Jivatma. The Jivatma is different. Different Parikshit there. So even though Bhagavan is the same Bhagavan who comes every time, he comes, like for example, if Rama comes, the same Rama will come again. There's only one Bhagavan. But the Jivatma, depending on his adhikar, like Yudhishthira, for example, is not Yudhishthira eternally in that form, right? He is born as Yudhishthira, the son of Yamaraj, right? So some Jivatma is born as Yudhishthira, so he comes there, and so the next Mahabharata, when it happens, the person who plays that role of Yudhishthira may be somebody else. Like that.
I just wanted to add, sir, 2 things here.
We've been trying to speak for a long time, but I have not given you a chance.
Amazing. Every time to speak, I have been refining my thought process. This has been amazing. So, sir, when Sri Bhagavan sleeps on the
Krishna.
Sheshnag and Kheer Samundar is there, right?
Yeah.
Milk ocean.
Kshir
So
Sagar.
every breath he takes, multiple universes are created from his pores. This I read in that ISKCON books, it has been, and in that multiple universes, sir, the
Each has one Brahma in it.
each has a Brahma in it, each has one earth in it, and in that one earth, as Shastra said, there would be one Shastra, one process in each of that earth.
Yeah,
And
maybe. Who knows?
yes,
We don't know.
so-
Yeah.
So, sir, there are a lot of fictional books I've been reading for quite some time. Yeah, like Spider-Man also. So there is this concept called doppelganger. So it means basically that there is this Earth one, and there is the other Earth, like which is also aligning with the thought process of our ISKCON thing. And there is this Swapnil who is trying to do his PhD here, and that Swapnil has already done his PhD, probably from a US university. So, sir, so there is this frequency of thoughts that comes up, that whatever I'm thinking here that I want to do or I'm regretting, the other Swapnil in that has already done that, or it has already been like, I always wanted to study at IIT Kharagpur, but it could have been that in that universe I'm already studying at IIT Kharagpur. So these are very interesting
So
concepts.
in your next life, you want to be born in that universe, or not sure?
But I've enjoyed this life. Really enjoyed. I don't have any regrets so far. So yes, sir. So there is this concept.
Just one more thought, because this part of Mahabharata that you narrated is very close to me. Usually we always say that Duryodhana was the main villain, but I slightly differ here in the sense that I particularly learned a lot of things from Krishna's visit to Hastinapur and the sequence of events that happened. So my learnings, I'm just sharing for knowledge sharing, not for contradicting what has happened or
Sure,
what has
Sure, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
So first learning that I get is on upbringing. So initially everybody wanted war. It's not only Duryodhana. Even Draupadi wanted war. Even Dhritarashtra, after knowing Dharma, everybody wanted war, because everybody was under some sort of illusion or some sort of malice, vengeance, or revenge or whatever. Draupadi was under vengeance, revenge, that she wanted a war. She did not wanted any other solution. She said she had taken a promise that until I wash my hairs with Dushasan's blood, I will not tie my hair. So everybody wanted war. It is when they closer to war, when they realize that what the outcome of the war could be. Like when Draupadi realizes that she might lose all of her sons, Pandavas, Abhimanyu might be lost. When Dhritarashtra realizes that his sons may be lost, and Gandhari realizes that everything can be lost, then everybody wants to stop the war. Before that, nobody wanted to stop the war. Everyone wanted to let the things happen at their pace. Draupadi never resisted Duryodhana's any of the wrong activities, because she never anticipated that she might lose Duryodhana because of any of these activities. When everybody anticipates the loss, then they want to stop the war because of their own reasons. And then Krishna gives answers to everybody that you all had opportunity to, stop everything. He says to Gandhari that you were very much aware that your brother is giving them wrong intentions and upbringing with wrong thoughts and dushkarma and everything, but you never wanted to stop, even after knowing. So now how you want to stop the war? And when same question, then Draupadi says, now I can do a out of court settlement or out of war settlement. I don't want to lose my sons and everything. We will see how we can teach them a lesson without the war. But then again, Krishna reminds that you only wanted the war and you took that promise that war has to happen and everybody has to kill. Now you can't stop the war. And I never said that even if it is a dharma war, it is not that one side will lose. War is destruction. It will cause destruction in both the sides. War is never fair on outcome of the war could be fair on the side of dharma, but loss will be happening on both the sides. Same question is asked by Bhishma Pitama, that why I am being ended like this. I practiced celibacy all my life. I practiced dharma all my life. Then why मेरा अंत ऐसे क्यों हो रहा है? मतलब मुझे तो कुछ और अंत मिलना चाहिए था. Then Krishna also has answered for him. I agree to all your good doings and your practice of dharma, and you are the greatest barrier of the person nobody can defeat you, all of that. Even I have to plan for a chal to, kind of defeat you. But then you had an option to control when the wrong things were happening in the court. I mean, you were present when Draupadi was being, mistreated and all, but you did not raise a voice. To which Bhishma answers that मैं वचनबद्ध था, मुझे हस्तिनापुर के अगेंस्ट में मैं कुछ बोल नहीं सकता था उस सिंहासन के अगेंस्ट में. Then he teaches कि वचनबद्ध हो, you take promises, you fulfill them, but you have to realize that while fulfilling promise, are you doing something wrong? So you did not realize at that time that promise is not above dharma. वहाँ पे अधर्म हो रहा था, so you should have broken that promise and taken in charge of that adharma and tried to stop things from happening. So like this, he has answered for everybody. So my learning is that war is not caused by one person. Everybody has a small role to it. The biggest role is upbringing, which I always learned that we always need to, the biggest lesson for me, we always need to upbring our future generations in the right way so that they do not get such malice things. And from good people, for good people like for Yudhishthir or Draupadi who are practitioners of dharma, I learned that however good practitioner you are or how much ever with conviction you are following, even one wrong move can also be disastrous. For example, Yudhishthira should not have taken his wife into the game when they were doing the game on a materialistic board and they were thinking materialistic thing. Then he should not have gotten his wife in first place, and he had the confidence that he might win that chance, which in itself is adhar. I mean that lalach of taking one more chance, how much ever good person you are. So my point here is that even if we are a good person, we have to be watchful for even one wrong deed. One wrong deed can, become heavier on all the good deeds that we have done. And then there is, then God is not able to answer. Even if I ask God कि मैंने lifelong बहुत अच्छा किया, क्या आप मेरा एक गलती नहीं माफ कर सकते? तो बात उस एक गलती का नहीं है, बात है कि the quantum of mistake you are making, and mistake can never be, downsided with the good things. I can do 1,000 good things, but wrong is still wrong. I mean, 1,000 good things cannot make up for one wrong doing. So I've just very quickly summarized, but there is answer to everybody's question and they were raising. Even Kunti didn't want war at that time. Everybody did, and everybody was questioning, why will I lose someone? And Krishna was answering everybody that because of this thought at different places, people had this war is happening. So this chapter is very close to me because I have read it many times. I have read a lot of interpretations. So I personally have a lot of lessons to take from this part of story.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. Anyone, anything else?
Sir, I have two questions, sir. So
Oh,
this is
no.
Arunabha. Yes, sir. Sir, of the 30 points that Vidura had noted down for Krishna,
Yeah.
as why it is useless to talk to Yudhishthira. Why it is useless to talk to Duryodhana.
Yeah.
So one of the points was he's not respecting the elders.
Yeah.
So is there any documentation as how to treat our elders and how to respect our elders, sir? I mean, that's the only point that I would like to know today, sir.
I don't know if there is any documentation in one single place, but many times in the Shastra, in conversations and dialogues, there are mentions of how one should be always respectful towards elders, consider their words as, as beneficial for us, not be angry with them. Even if they are angry with us for some reason which we think is not okay, we should tolerate that. So there are many places where it's not one single place where there is a chapter which says how to deal with elders, nothing like that. To my knowledge, there isn't. But I'm not aware of it, even if it is there.
Sir.
In
Okay, sir.
general, good conduct involves respecting elders. And that's one of the reasons why Yudhishthira kept quiet. Many people ask why, when Draupadi was insulted, Yudhishthira kept quiet. He didn't do anything. He could have easily got up and, Bhima, like I've told this many times before,
Sir.
how among the 5 brothers, Bhima was so much in
Furious.
rage,
Yeah.
so much in rage that he couldn't control himself. It is said that the sparks were coming out of his mouth, or out of his nose, his mouth, and people were watching that. People were trembling, looking at Bhima. Any moment he may do anything. And smoke was coming out of his, pores of his skin. He was so angry when he saw Draupadi being insulted like that. He couldn't tolerate, and the first thing Bhima does is he rebukes Yudhishthira. He says, what have you done? He says that I will first kill you. He tells Yudhishthira like that. Then Arjuna cools him. Arjuna calms him down. He says, don't speak like that. He's our elder brother. Calm down, calm down. He calms him down. Then after some time, again in the same incident, when they continue to insult Draupadi, Bhima asks Yudhishthira that he says, please allow me. Please give me the permission. You are my elder brother. Give me the permission. And at this moment itself, I'll finish all of them. I have the strength. It is said that when Bhima became strong, when he became angry, he would have the strength of 10,000 elephants. His anger would make him much stronger than he normally is. So he says, I will finish all of them right now. Single-handedly. The moment he says that, it is said that everybody in that assembly began to tremble. His words were so deep. But Yudhishthira is not shaken even a little bit. He just very calmly, he turns to Bhima and says, just sit down. Just says that much. Just sit down quietly. And Bhima, because of his greatness, he has the strength in him to control his anger and just follow what Yudhishthira says. So why Yudhishthira did not do anything? This question is simply because of respect for elders. At that point of time, because the elders are all sitting there, Dhritarashtra is there, Bhishma is there, Drona, they're all watching this, right? But they're not doing anything. So in front of them, this is happening and they're fully conscious of it. And they followed a process. They followed a process by which they were asked to come to that particular game. They played the game as per the process that it is meant to be played. They were cheated, but they followed the process from their side. So Yudhishthira just keeps quiet. He waits for the elders to say something. They don't say anything. And he keeps quiet. So that's just a demonstration of extreme nobility. And he's given, although Draupadi suffered there, eventually, of course, Yudhishthira being what he is, he's a bhakta, right? He's a Bhagavata. So he knows in his consciousness that Krishna is doing all this. So he knows that Krishna will somewhere interfere or intervene. Krishna will intervene here and something will happen.
So that's bhakti, sir, right?
That is bhakti. So through the lens of bhakti, he knows that something will happen now. And that what happens. Draupadi turns to Krishna and immediately it is not she who is humiliated. It is the Kauravas who are completely humiliated by the incident. So Yudhishthira's patience and maturity pays out. They are humiliated.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, I mean, we also debated this earlier. I mean, whether it was right on part of Yudhishthira to keep quiet at that time and not let anyone. Arjun and Bhima were very, very angry at that instance. The Rupadeva sir. So, I mean, we can have different perception. That's
all
fine.
Of them were angry. I mean, even Yudhishthira would have been internally very, very upset, very disturbed by that. But he kept his calm, right? He was very, very calm. Because of his values.
So
sitting in an assembly, I mean, you have to put yourself in that shoes. Like it's something like you're sitting in the Supreme Court of India with the Chief Justice in front of you and all the great other justices who are sitting there. And something is happening there. Now you take into account that they are also there. And they have the authority to take a decision above me. Right? It's something like that. You respect the authority in front of you.
Respect the authority in front of you, sir. So, right. So my second question is, I mean, there is a perception, I mean, there's a view of the Mahabharata that says that. So when Indraprastha was divided into two and Khandraprastha and Indraprastha become two independent kingdoms. And, when Indraprastha, Hastinapur I think Hastinapur was there was something called Khandaprasth. Yudhishthir was the king of.
Yeah, there's some other name. Yes, yes.
Hastinapur got divided into Indraprastha and Khandaprastha.
Okay.
Something. Yes, yes.
Thank you for that. And
Yes.
then when Yudhishthira invited his, the Kauravas, including Bhishma Pitama, including Dronacharya and everyone. So there is an instance which says that so Duryodhan was taking a tour of the palace, and he was warned, "Hey, don't go there. There is water over there." But then he didn't listen, and he went there and he tripped over the place and he fell in water. This was seen by Draupadi, and he humiliated Duryodhana, saying that she humiliated Draupadi, saying that andhe baap ka andha beta. That made Duryodhana very angry, and it is said, there is a perception that is said that probably this is what led to the entire chaos that followed. So I mean, then why to humiliate at all? I mean, was Draupadi right in doing that?
See,
Or
before I answer your question, I think I should read the chapter in the original Mahabharata, like I have done now for
Sir.
understanding Duryodhana's character. I went to the original Mahabharata and read the shlokas there. And I think I should do the same with answering this question, because I don't know exactly what happened there in detail. I know that he fell into that particular pond inside the house.
Yes, inside the palace, yeah.
Inside the palace, which did not look like water. It was
Yes.
so, I mean, it looked so clear. It looked like the actual floor. So because the water was so clear and pure there, and it was constructed in that manner.
So
I'm aware of that story where he falls inside and Draupadi laughs or something, and then he's insulted by that.
he's insulted by that, yeah.
Insulted. That I'm aware of that much. But whether
And-
she actually insulted him by saying this thing that you just now said, or probably what you heard was just in some TV serial or something.
Yeah. I mean, I read it in two places as well. I mean, in TV serial it's there. In Mahabharata, we get it on YouTube also. It's for free.
Yeah.
And
So,
also,
a lot of version of Mahabharata that we commonly know is what we read in some abridged book, or we heard on TV or something, or YouTube or something. But in the original, how it is given, how Vyasa writes about it, I think we should first read that, and then we can discuss. Maybe in a future class we can discuss this.
sir,
Just
is it? So the original Mahabharata, is there the original copy of the Mahabharata in Hindi? Because I don't understand the Sanskrit, sir.
Yeah, I have a
Hindi
Gita
language?
press. Yeah, that's what I'm referring
Gita
to.
Press is there, sir?
Sanskrit and Hindi both are there.
Both are there, sir?
Sir,
I'll get it, sir.
Translation is there. Yes, I'll send it to you. Just
No,
send me-
sir, not required, sir. I mean, I'll get it, sir. I mean, it's a very it's a humongous book. I think I've seen it.
Yeah,
It's a very book. I'll get it, sir. I'll get it here, sir.
you can get a soft copy. I don't have.
Oh, soft copy is there, sir?
That's what I said. I will email you. I mean,
Oh,
I'm not-
yes, absolutely, sir. And also, sir, those 30 virtues which were demonstrated by Duryodhana, sir, if you can share that, sir.
They're
The 30
vices.
virtues.
They're vices.
Vices, okay, sir.
English we say vices.
Okay.
Virtues are what I sent last time. No, I showed
Sir,
you.
sir, yes, sir.
34 virtues. Yeah, I can send you this file. I can send you
Sure.
this file. Anybody who wants can again email me. I'll send this file. I don't want to spam by sending to everybody. So you can see them, and it's good to see this kind of thing once in a while, because it helps us to reflect on ourselves, and also understand. Sometimes we understand others also through the lens of these qualities. So it's good to do that. Definitely, I'll send it to you. Just send me an
Sure.
email.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Yeah.
Shall we close for today? We are almost half an hour above time. Anything else? Anyone? Is your display coming properly?
Yes.
Yes, here we are. Okay, we'll just chant the Shanti mantra and then we'll close. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padagum Sada Pashyanti Surayah Divi Vachakshuratatam Tad Vipraso Vipanyavo Jagruvagum Sassamindhate Vishnu Yat Paramam Padam Parya Aptya Anantarayaya सर्वस्तमोतिरात्र उत्तममहद्भवति सर्वस्याप्त्यै सर्वस्य जित्यै सर्वमेव तेना आप्नोति सर्वं जयति। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। हरि ओम तत्सत्। धन्यवादः। पुनर्मिलामः।
Sir, pranam, sir.
प्रणाम प्रणाम।